Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the On Time, On Target morning brief. We're going to invest with military precision. All right, as far as those checking us out on replay, thank you so much for looking into us. If you want to join, there's more for a free trial. There's more information at ototnow.com. All right, podcast number still at 35 episodes, over 1,200 downloads. Have a big episode out today that should take us over the 1,000 mark in July, which is pretty big deal in the podcasting world. So all of that is going well. If you're new to the room, you want to make sure you have both the chat and the Q&A open. Again, if you're seeing a recording, you're not going to see either of those windows, but you will hear me talk about that. And again, that's how those of us in the room communicate. And for the chat window, make sure you have it set to all attendees so you can see everything that's going on. And thanks for chiming in on anything you want to throw into the chat or the Q&A to give us some stuff to talk about this morning. All right, our mission objectives for today are going to be to grow our money, protect our money, and live off our money. And the specific tactical objectives we're going to talk about today involve growing our money. So as you can see there, we're going to talk about Amazon stock and Jeff Bezos. He testified yesterday for the first time in Congress. So we'll talk about kind of the fallout from that. And then, of course, the whole talk with himself and the three other big tech CEOs was about antitrust concerns. So again, I'll talk to a little bit about that. You may or may not be aware of all the things that go on to keep the country in check as far as competition. But for our flow today, we're going to talk long, short, open, short, long. And what that means to you is we're going to take a market review of not only the futures in the U.S., but around the world as well, including oil and gold. Then we'll come back to the U.S. We'll talk about the headline review, of which there are a ton of headlines this morning, a lot of economic data out, and some big earnings plays out there. As far as the long-term investments that we'll actually look at on the chart, of course, we'll look at Amazon, which has been on fire, steady above 3,000 now. Alibaba, its competition from China, and then three other U.S. firms that compete in some manner with Amazon. Amazon does so much, it doesn't have a true competitor. It has a group of competitors. And the last one is the index fund called iBuy, which has been on fire, and I have some of that in the book, so I'm pretty happy about that. As we get within 10 minutes of the market open, we're going to switch and do day trading mode. We're going to take a look at things that are moving mostly on earnings this morning. We'll get through, we'll have our competition. We'll take about the next 10 minutes after the market opens to look at what's in play. And after that, we'll transition back to long and get to your questions and answers. If you have any tech concerns, Steve at OTOT Now is where you need to go, and that'll be handled real time. And standard disclaimer always applies. This is a financial education presentation, so do your own due diligence before you act on anything you hear in the room. All right, let's go over to TD Ameritrade and look at the year in review. Again, for first-time followers, this is a one-year chart of the S&P 500, or more commonly known as the SPY. Have the huge run up into February where life was good, and then the big house of pain for 1 month fall, biggest drop in history of 35%, and then kind of a steady rise from there. All of these folks out there said that they are not, wasn't going to be a V-shaped recovery. Well, kids, it is. And it's actually had quite a bit of staying power. You see the AI lines there of the steeper channel that we were in for a while. Now it's more of a muted channel, but we had a really nice day yesterday to keep us keep the trend going up. And today we're setting up for a little bit of a red day, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. All right, let's go over to the 5-day review. You can kind of see how the blue days, the dark blue days, are the actual open market days. So you can see how yesterday turned out to be a pretty good day. Lots of optimism in the air. And you can see in the futures this morning, lots of pessimism in the air. So some of that is the economic data that was in that we'll talk about during the headline review. And then are some earnings out there as well. All right, over to the earnings calendar. The big name last night that's in the book was Qualcomm. So Qualcomm beat earnings up over 10% after market last night and this morning. If you hear me talk about an investable thesis of 5G, Qualcomm, in my opinion, your most pure 5G play. It's been kind of just dead, kind of trading sideways. So it was due for a nice big pop-up. Excuse me, nice big pop-up from an earnings beat. This morning we had Procter & Gamble was probably the biggest name out there that reported, and I'm blanking on whether they beat or not. I can't remember. I think they did beat, if you will, and are basically flat after that. But that's all going to be overcome by the big after earnings market release today, which are the four that are testified in Congress yesterday. So your Facebook, your Amazon, your Google, and Apple, and then you also have another F in there as Ford is releasing. So I'm kind of curious as to what Ford has to say. Remember, they cut their dividend, but they're still a staple of the U.S. economy. So a lot of things going on with the E-Mach Mustang and, of course, the new release of the Bronco. So if their numbers are actually horrible, which I might expect, I might actually look at getting back into Ford because I think they will recover. If the stock gets hammered, I think they will recover in the long term. But we shall see. So Ford's in my watch for tonight. And again, if that's really, I'm only looking at getting back in if they take more than about a 20% hit to their stock. So we shall see. All right, let's go to the headline review. CNBC, as you can look across the board, Dow already down over 1%. Everything across the board is down over 1%. And largely that is because of some of the headlines that we'll get to here in a second. But going around the world, let's take a look at the Asian markets. All right, down just slightly across the board there for the big three. All right, how about Europe? Europe's down pretty heavily. So again, that's not going to help the U.S. market if they've already started down. Let's see, Volkswagen and Renault shares dropped 6%. So there's your European automakers. Following today with Ford, I don't know why I'm almost giddy to see how hard the Ford stock gets hit because it's going to prove to be a decent entry point long term, I think. All right, let's look at the numbers from the U.S. of yesterday, which are kind of almost irrelevant because we've walked them all the way back. But it's good to think when you have the big red day after a big green day, it's kind of like they cancel each other out. So the VIX still below, it's at 26.45. With all the negativity in the air, I can see the VIX going higher today. All right, in the bond market, let's take a look at the 10-year down to 0.545. For first time in over 3 months. I mean, that's crazy. Encroaching upon the 0.5% for 10 years. That's crazy. Okay, over to oil. Barely holding on to that $40 mark, so we'll keep an eye on that. And then over into precious metals, I know gold popped this morning. Actually, disregard it. It was almost close to 10,000 about an hour ago. Excuse me, 2,000, not 10,000. That'd be a big deal. Almost close to 2,000, not too long ago. So that's reversed in the last little bit. And then, of course, silver's been on fire. So just the fact that it's down 5% says almost nothing because it's been up so much there. So it's kind of weird when you have the market down and the precious metals down. That's a money flow issue. So when you hear me talk about money flow, that means stuff is just selling off wholesale going to cash. There are some forces out there, headlines, which we'll take a look at. We can go and switch to the headlines now while I finish up this thought. But with money flow, that's kind of money flow out of the market when the precious metals are getting hit. Something you've heard me talk about in the room past couple days. I have no idea what palladium is actually used for. So if you do, chime in the room. I like it. But it is down 8%. But money flow is you have August and September coming up, which traditionally are down months. So that and a contentious election going up. So I think we'll see some more money flow issues. We shall see. All right. Don't know. All right. Second quarter GPD, waking up this morning. GDP plunged by worst ever, almost 33%. We knew it was coming, of course, but the worst ever kind of numbers are obviously going to hit the market there. So it really becomes, there's the stock market and market of stocks kind of mentality. And I'm a stock picker, if you will, trying to capitalize on the best of breed. You really get rewarded in a market like this where there's a lot of negativity, but you're only picking and choosing what you're going to invest in the market and not just taking the whole thing like you do in your 401k. So, all right, you also had the jobless claims come in this morning on Thursday like they always do. Believe it or not, 1.434 was a beat of a 1.5 million expected. So in a way, that's some closet good news. I think it's going to be overwhelmed by the GDP number this morning, so not too worried about that. All right, big tech on deck. That's the earnings now. So Here's what I think will happen today. A lot of negativity in the air. Another headline that I'm sure we'll get to is folks have been saying that the relief packages are not close. We have the 1 million package from the Republicans, the 3 trillion, excuse me, 1 trillion package from the Republicans, 3 trillion package from the Democrats, and they're not close to a solution. We kind of needed one this week for the market to continue to go higher. So that is not good. And so that's going to keep things negative. However, I think all 4 of the big tech names that were in Congress yesterday that released after the bell, I think they're all going to blow out their numbers. So there you go. The market's going to be higher. So we'll see how those forces balance out. Yeah, so that's what they're talking about, the crazy market day on Friday. I think so. I think if those 4 names beat significantly, which I expect them all to do that, then you're probably going to see a big green day Friday carried by just a few names. So we shall see. All right, let's scroll up here. Worst ever, we saw that. Jobless claims, yep. Dunkin' Brands, okay, missed earnings. Not really surprising there. All right, continuing on up to the next names. All right, a lot of repeat that we've already seen. Facebook earnings, you're going to see that all day long. That's going to be the talk of the day. P&G, there we go. We talked about it, and I said I couldn't remember if they beat or not. They did beat, and they're up 4%. So that's good. All right, you know about in sports world, we've got the NBA starting back up tonight, Lakers Clippers. I hardly ever watch. I might actually watch that game because it's kind of interesting. Battle of LA, some heavyweights in there, and NBA's back, so it'll be interesting to see how they look with no fans with no fans in the stands. And they're all playing at the same complex of the ESPN Worldwide Sports, which one of my 2 daughters has actually played on the court there. Several courts, of course, across the basketball court. So that's pretty cool. So excited for that. Baseball, obviously, continuing on. The Marlins have affected their schedule, but so far that hasn't parlayed too much into the sport as a whole, but something to certainly keep an eye on as some teams are selectively canceling games. All right. A third of small business owners have tapped personal funds to stay afloat. I can certainly see that. I work with several, and yeah, it has been a tough time, kind of across the board there. And last one, we'll look at UPS shares soar 11%. So yeah, good news on the delivery front. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's take a look at FinViz, and we'll pull up Amazon stock here this morning to kind of take a look where that's been. So 3,000 is kind of setting up as a level of resistance, if you will. So the huge run up from what, 1,600 a share. So just a personal story of Amazon is I sat on the sidelines for Amazon for 21 years, of which 19 of that, if you've heard me tell that story, is because they weren't profitable. So I learned a lot as an investor of how to really gauge the growth. And I was watching Amazon grow year after year after year, but would be without profits. So the issue was there is I really wanted an entry point to where I could get into the name after they became profitable again. That was a couple of years ago. So really one of the gifts of the COVID-19 sell-off is I finally went into Amazon, and I honestly bought it pretty hard. They're down below, we'll just say 2,000. I can't remember everybody's exact entry point, but yeah, what a screaming deal. So when we will see more sell-offs like this in the future, whether they're as fast as the 35% or not, I don't know. But the fact is, when you get opportunities like that, as your portfolio is bleeding, as your big numbers are turning bright red, look for opportunities for names that you can get in on. So obviously a big run up to 3,000. It was still a buy below 3,000. This was one of those names you just close your eyes and buy and put it in your portfolio. if you don't want to wait another decade for a good entry point. So I do think it holds 3,000. You've seen it dip below twice there, and both times it's run back up to 3,000. So I think that's a resistance level or a floor, if you will, under the stock. It may come below that today, but it will vault right back above it after hours if they have a big earnings beat, which I expect. All right, let's scroll down. We'll just take a look at their numbers real quick. The bright red PE, that tells you that, yes, it's overvalued. Well, that's overvalued kind of because it's taken over the world. So out of the antitrust issues, I did not read the transcript from yesterday. I need to read what was said, but I could see eventually if any one of those four names needs to be broken up for antitrust issues, it's going to be Amazon. They're going to have to start spinning stuff off just so they don't maintain so much market control. And again, Amazon Web Services, that's my guess, would be the first thing that we need to spin off because that would be a ton of money that would go elsewhere. And as an Amazon shareholder, if you remember the Ma Bell breakup way back in the day, but you'll end up with several shares across different companies if there is a big breakup. So that's a good thing. If you look off to all the green in the right-hand column, yeah, you bet. Making money left and right, especially in the COVID-19. And if you look at the short float, which is the next one over, less than 1%, getting in front of the Amazon train with a short is just plain stupid. Where in Tesla, it's smart in the academic world, but it's stupid in reality. But Amazon's got a lot more going for it than Tesla. All right, we can bring that down and go ahead and go over to the Schwab Big Board and take a look at the Amazon chart that we've already seen this morning. Their biggest competitor, if you look off to the right in the world, is Alibaba, which is actually bigger than Amazon. That is a name that I love. We've been in that for a long time. There's lots of risk. There's the China-US risk. There's the President Trump getting reelected risk. Yeah, I said that right. And through a lens of Alibaba, that's a risk because if he gets reelected, his second term as a president, I'm pretty sure that he'll go right after China like nobody ever has before. And that's going to hit the Chinese names. All right, over to eBay. eBay, kind of like people don't really think of eBay a whole lot anymore. You certainly don't hear it in the news, but the stock's been doing well. So obviously people are still at it. So good for them. Walmart, again, is what I kind of consider as your big competitor. And as soon as Amazon started crushing things about 5 years ago, when they kind of got really into full swing, that's when Walmart did an amazing pivot from just Walmart, the big box, everybody goes there, wear your yoga pants and your ugly sweatshirt because that's what everybody does. But they came out with Walmart.com and started matching and going head to head with Amazon in the e-retail world, which was brilliant. And I think that kind of saved them. And they also have their get and go deliveries, pre-order stuff. So Walmart, for an older big box type firm, has been pretty savvy for negotiating all of this. So, and of interest, when you look at how many stocks got hit in March, they hit to Walmart, not much. Really not much. So they've had more staying power. I would not have thought that to be the case a few years back, but they are. They're still a monster in the retail scene. All right, bottom left, I put Microsoft up there because when you think of now just the Amazon Web Services versus Microsoft Azure, if I'm saying that correctly, that's kind of their main head-to-head competitor. Microsoft, or Mr. Softy, as many people have called it for years, that's a name that just continues higher as well. So like I said yesterday, again, the four largest firms in the world were the ones that were testifying, and the fifth one out there, no, it's not Tesla, it's Microsoft. And again, lots of room to run on Microsoft. I have a little bit of it, not a lot, but it's screaming higher. And then the last one I want to talk about that I do put a bunch of people in, especially folks that don't like individual names, and that's fine, is certainly you want to get on board of the e-retail thesis because everything's going online and people are working from home. And even if the virus went away tomorrow, like cured, gone, we've kind of reset our expectations as a society is, yeah, we can work just fine from home. Guess what? Bosses, people are productive. You don't have to stare at them. You don't need to put them in a little cubicle nation so you can go around with your coffee mug and hate on them. Yeah, people will be productive. And that's only going to help themes like the iRetail of buying stuff from home. And personally, I can't remember the last day I didn't have Amazon throw something at the base of my door. So it seems like we're buying more and more stuff. Whether we should or not is a different issue, but buying more and more stuff every single day, it seems. All right, let's bring that down. We'll actually go over to the short tab and we'll start taking a look at some names. I'm going to take a break for a second and look at all this stuff in the chat because I saw a cruiser in here. So we have to stop and see what sort of funny guy haha is going on back and forth. Okay, fantastic. I haven't taken up shuffleboard yet, but I am over 50. I do get AARP magazine, which I read through, which makes it kind of funny. And yeah, maybe shuffleboard's my next third career, right? All right, you guys are hilarious. All right, there's Amazon we already talked about. We can skip over to the what names are in play. First of all, we just have to put Kodak up there. So let's talk about the elephant in the room of why we're not in Kodak, K-O-D-K. So the bigger question is not why we're not in it, is why were some executives from Kodak buying a lot of their stock on Monday? So if you remember right, generally executives have to make all their buys known in plenty of time and things. Well, there's a headline out there, and I do think there will be some fallout, if you will, legally from all the activity that was going on in Kodak right before the big contract was announced. So that means, and somebody had inside information, somebody was talking, and that person that now had all those shares at $2 when the stock's up at 40, yeah, so they 20x their number and they can enjoy that from jail, and all their buddies that they got in on it. So play the game right, kids, and you don't have to worry about that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, heck of a move up. We kind of sat and stared at it yesterday right after we were off air, and yeah, it got stopped out 5 times, something like that. It went up to $52 and then crashed right back down. The $60, and it was just crazy. And the volume, it was every trader in the world that does that professionally sat there with Kodak yesterday, and I'm sure fortunes were made and lost at the same time. So kind of crazy. It settled down into 32, and then guess what? It's already up at 40 this morning. So we shall see. That's not a name I'm going to touch, but if you want to throw a dart at the board, have fun with it. All right, Inovio up. Let's click on that. If you remember Herb Me Talk, that's I've only taken a handful of trades, and they were all back in March this year. This is one I did take. I took it long, and I took it entered at 5, and I was out at 836. Not too shabby, especially when I bought a ton of it. Well, it's one of those. Trading is interesting. I don't really like to do it, but when things set up as obvious, then I will take a trade. So I&O was one of those that I felt confident in it, took a big swing at it, made a decent money. But the trader's dilemma, this is why being an investor is more important, is look where it is now. So yes, I had the high 5 trade of the year, but then now if I just held that, it's up at 20 and going to 21 today. So anyhow, I couldn't have held it. I had too much of it. Had to use the 4-buy to get in on it, pattern day trader stuff. But that's a name to keep a look at. Take a look at it. It's been beat up lately, and it's vaccine news there off to the right. So, all right. So we'll look at that long. It's kind of set up beautifully, tons of volume. Blank up 25%. That's a name we're in. 25% yesterday, 25 today. It's not Kodak. Sorry, kids, but it is. It has a lot. Kodak's a headline pop in the news. Yeah, they got a big contract. Yawn. Blank's going to be around a long time. We're in on it early, and I'm thrilled with that. Neo down a little. I'm not going to touch that. Let's take a look at the next. It is a red day, so again, I'll be looking for shorts after we get through some of the longs here, but there are a lot of individual names just screaming long. We talked about Qualcomm. I do think that the cat's out of the bag now for Qualcomm, so let's bring that up on the left. Let's look at their stock chart. Back it out. Okay, so it had the big run up and then close to 90, and it's been kind of stalled out at 90, which is, I think, undervalued. So I don't like to take things that have gapped up more than 10%, but you could still go Qualcomm long here because there's so much more room to go higher. All right, UPS is also set up, so we'll take a look at that long. Again, that's an earnings beat. Look at that chart. I like FedEx better than UPS, but goodness gracious, look at that. Quite the move up. You've heard me describe the two companies. UPS is a truck company with airplanes, and FedEx is an airplane company with trucks. Well, FedEx and airplanes have been a little bit negative lately, and again, FedEx stock is tied up with some of those names as well. So big move up there. I don't know how much more that has to run. That might be a little much. PayPal up nicely. They did. Can't remember if it was earnings or a headline. Let's see. Add Venmo to introduce QR code touch-free. Venmo's already has a QR code. How's that news? Maybe you can use it in the store now. We shall see. Touch-free payment technology in CVS pharmacy stores. So, okay, it's in the bottom. It's in the big letters there at the bottom. I don't know if that's a real game changer. That's more of what you would expect, right? So we'll keep an eye on it. I wouldn't take that long. All right, let's look at some shorts out there. That's pretty hilarious. So for a bright red pre-market day, there's not a lot going short. So nothing really qualifies per our 100,000 volume. Just take the mouse right back off of Tesla. I don't think that's funny. No, I'm not shorting Tesla today. I've got my Scout merit badges on getting crushed in Tesla. So get rid of Tesla, boo. All right. What else could we take down here? Let's see if there's let's come over here. On another screen, I'm going to put pre-market movers to see if we can find something in the red range. All right, we're almost there. We're on stockmarketwatch.com is where I'm looking here. All right, let's see. Big names, couple of bio names out there. They're all pharmaceuticals. All right. Several of them down over 10%, but I don't see anything to short out there. All right. So our short play would be to go long the VIX, which is kind of a closet short play, which I like, which would be the VXX to go long there. All right, let's take a look at the next tab. If you see something to short, put it in the room. Two, I don't even know what that is. TUP, Tupperware. Oh my goodness. All right, well, it looks like, I don't want to speak for you, but it looks like your short thesis is the fact that it went from 9 to 16 yesterday for Tupperware. Okay, I'll buy that. That probably is unrealistic. It doesn't fit our gap and go strategy. However, that would be a sell-off off of that. So interesting. I kind of like it. Not going to get my money, but cars.com up 13%. That's kind of crazy. We don't need to look at it. I'll just put cars long on the list. UPS is on the list. 2 minutes to the open. A lot of trading vehicles, blah, blah, blah. Molson Coors, where was that? Kind of light. Tap is up. We don't need to look at that though. We'll go to the last one and then we'll get set up. Blank, you go. Overstocked up 16%. Nice. OLED, again, the screen maker up 11%. Inovio 9%. All right. Let's leave that and we'll set up the big board on TD Ameritrade. We'll put TUP off to the left. Geets are awfully quiet this morning. If you want to throw a trade in there. Again, I really don't like the fact that we're looking at all long names. So put the VXX in the middle. Or right, that's fine. And then if Geach pops in with the trade, we'll put that in there. Otherwise, we can leave Blink up. I think that's interesting for a name. So 50 seconds to go. I will take the VXX long if you'll type this in for me. VXX long with a, I'll play it close, 15-cent stop, and in at the open and out at 5 minutes. So again, thinking that the market's going to sell off there in the first 5 minutes. So VXX long will be my trade. In at open, out at 5. There it is. You heard it here, and 15 seconds to go. Let's put Luckin in the middle there, because that's always interesting for me. 236. All right, so here we go at the open. Let's see what I got here. 29.86 for my open, and adding 15 to that would be 30.01. So right at the top of the screen. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm backwards. Thank you. Let's subtract that to what, 29.71. All right, so that's good for me. I went long, trying to think of short is long, blah, blah, blah. So that's how I'm set up there. All right, let's see, as far as TUP will be in at 2, so we've got a minute to watch it there. All right. The market overall headed down right there in that first minute. Luckin headed down, so let's go ahead and look at some other names. Let's see if Kodak has stopped out yet, KODK. So on the way down this morning, $3 move in the first minute. You could probably sit and trade this all day. I think it'll eventually chill out, but probably sometime today I think it chills out to within a few dollar range. All right, let's look at INO. This again was a long. Boom, I'm out of my VIX trade, so I'm again 0 for life on trading the VIX as well as Tesla. Yeah, I can own up to that. All right, and Novio would have been a long in at 21, about 50-cent move there. That's not bad. All right, let's look at, ooh, does that look like more? No, actually just 50-cent move, just looks pretty on the chart. BLNK, we can cycle back to that. Up 33%. Let's leave that there since that's a name we're in, and we'll use the right-hand chart. We'll get rid of that VIX. Put in LCA for a second. And then we'll go over to Tupperware, TUP. The Predator is in that trade at 15.02. And looks like short covering there. So what was the stop? 20-cent stop up to 15.22. So don't even need to draw that. Red X's of shame all about this morning. So we don't need to watch the Tupperware. We can put Qualcomm in that left screen. QCOM. All right, selling back down a little bit. Actually a lot. That's a $2 move right there. So people not believing the Qualcomm story. I think it's undervalued here, like I said, pre-market. So we shall see. All right, we can leave Qualcomm there. We'll leave Blink. Let's look off to the right, some other names. Let's look at UPS and see how that's doing. All right. Sold off a couple of dollars from the big run up this morning. I could see that happening. PayPal, again, this was a long PYPL. Well, that just continued on up. So 191 up to 197. If you got in that early, that's 3 hours, no matter how you slice it. It's about 10 hours if you took a nice stop, close stop there. So that's going well. Obviously, there was the article this morning about them being used for touchless in stores at the CVS pharmacy in conjunction with Venmo. PayPal owns Venmo. So that must be a bigger deal than I thought it was, since I kind of poo-pooed the headline. But other people are taking that long, so good on them. All right, and let's, CARS was another one, C-A-R-S, Carvana, I believe. Up, yeah, 15%, so that's not screaming anywhere higher there. Let's take a look at the big four horsemen. We'll start with Apple. Again, these names are going into earnings. So nice move up there on Apple, almost back into the green for the day. And I think that that's going to have to run up into the green prior to, you would think that Apple, as much as it's getting some negativity in the headlines right now, has to be going higher. All right, thanks in the chat there for Exxon Mobil. It's off a little bit. Let's put XOM over here and see if there's a headline associated with it. And then while I look at that, if you put XOM in that right-hand panel again, a venture NAM in the Netherlands, a joint venture with Royal Dutch Shell and Exxon. Too much for me to decipher there, but I do think oil had chance of breaking back down below 40, and I think that's the magic number where people are going to either start shorting the oil names or get out of them. I plan on holding Exxon. If I have to thin out your portfolio a little bit due to risk, i.e. I need to get out of some equities, I'm okay with leaving Exxon behind. Again, I do think it's undervalued, but it doesn't have that screaming higher upside that a lot of the other names do. All right, let's get back to our big four. Let's take a look at Amazon next. Very nice, almost in the green. Well, they're in the green on the day, as we were just talking about it there. So let's look at Facebook. Still down about 1%, struggling higher. Again, that's to me is the most problematic of those four, just because all the negativity and the ad dollars. I think all that's coming back, especially with the election up. The last one we'll take a look at is Google. Have this in the book as well. That one's not fighting back nearly as hard. I think if people understood how Google makes their money, i.e. if they had their own business and they saw what Google wants me to pay them to get up in the search rankings, it's insane. But people are paying it left and right, because if you're a bigger fish in the sea than me, you can afford to pay that, or you will choose to pay that. It's kind of crazy. That's like pure profit margin. All right, so those are our big four. Let's take a look at Luckin again. Let's revisit our fave. Hardly moving down there, a few percent. That has been a trend. Let's look at some other EV names, starting at Tesla. When I say other EV, I mean in addition to Blink, who's flopping all over the place there. So Tesla down a little bit. Let's look at Workhorse, WKHS. All right, nice move up with Workhorse. This is my opinion. Once the world kind of figures out what Workhorse does, like they did with Blink, I think you're going to see a move higher up to the tune of 50%. I really do. It's kind of crazy what this company does, and especially if they get the Postal Service contract. Like how many vehicles is that? A lot. Let's take a look at the Left for Dead Nikola, NKLA, and see if it's even holding 30. Yep, barely, but I think it drops below 30 today. It's off of the, you have your quiet periods where after the IPO, and again, this was a SPAC, but after the IPO, executives are locked up. Well, all of those are in the open market now, so executives can sell. So we'll see if it holds 30 or not. And then let's go to Shell, SHLL. All right, going up, kind of being drug up with Blink's push up. And then the other name out there for the battery name other than Blink is Plug, Plug, which is Plug Power. You'd have to imagine that's, even though it's a competitor, it should be drawn up with it. Blink got a couple of huge contracts on Monday. It took a day or two for people to process that, and then now it's getting priced in. All right, so that's what I've got there. Let's go over to the market. We're still down 1% on the Dow Jones and the SPY, 0.5% in the NASDAQ. Looking over at names on the way up, we've talked about Blink, Qualcomm, and PayPal. Siri is Sirius FM. BRBS, after taking the OFR in volume yesterday, well, we looked early. I can't remember if it was OFR for the day, but Blue Ridge, a small company out there on the move higher. NEO, we generally talk about, and there's our iBuy. Not a whole lot of names in the green there. CCX, that's a name we like. And Workhorse barely hanging on. So some hanging on to the green. All right, let's flip over to the red. There should be a whole ocean of red names out there. COP is ConocoPhillips. Not even close to best of breed, in my opinion. Prudential. You don't see that name in play a lot, down 4%. There's Luckin, always on the top of the negative leaderboard, it seems. Chevron, so different oil names. XLE, Nikola. GE down some. And then Raytheon continues down. It's getting ready to be a screaming buy. I don't know if I want to buy a whole bunch of it before the election or not, but I will probably start nibbling at Raytheon. Okay, let me catch up. Let's go back to our 4-panel board while I look through the chat here and see what I missed. Okay, palladium, curious predator, if you knew this offhand or if you looked it up. Looks like a cut and paste. Palladium used in fuel cells. Well, I think you're going to see things used in fuel cells that move a lot higher, right? Especially with all the EV stuff out there and going around. Not that that has to do with, cars and buses, okay. Used in catalytic reactions. A lot of big words. Jewelry. Yeah, they used a lot more than I thought. All right, yeah, last minute for the not watching the NBA until I get involved, or okay, thanks. Probably not going to. That ship has sailed. Shuffleboard we talked about. Golf, all right. Haha, you guys are killing me. Should be buying Callaway stock so I can get some new clubs. You know what I know clubs I have? Golfsmith, yeah, going on 30 years. I don't use them a lot. You know that. Yeah, the price matching from Amazon. Like I said, I've been nothing but impressed with Walmart for what they've done. They really have been able to hang in there and stay relevant through several challenges. So that's a testament to their leadership there. All right, and then the oil names are down. So all right, let's go over. We'll close it out unless you do have other questions that pop up. We'll close it out with some antitrust stuff. So first is we're going to bring up, let's grab the other one, the definition first. So what is antitrust? We can go right up to key takeaways there. That's going to be enough for us. So designed to protect and promote healthy competition. So you have capitalism on one hand, that's supposed to run rampant, leave the dead for dead. If we would have done a capitalist approach with COVID-19, there would have been tremendous fallout and lots of death and stuff. However, folks that are, when we go back and study this, you might see that we'd be through it faster with greater carnage. We shall see. That's me speculating. When you take that to an economic realm, that's what you're measuring is it fair to all the smaller businesses out there that Amazon has destroyed, or the ones that they will destroy in the future that can't pull a Walmart and actually operate at a loss for a while they figure things out. So that's what it's all about. You can see the big acts up there, Sherman Act, FTC Act, and Clayton Act are the ones. You'll hear people refer to those in the news. I don't have the specifics on those, and we're not going to go in today. But those are the big names out there that you can see. All right, and that gives you the history down at the bottom. If you're concerned, Sherman Act was in 1890, so a while ago. All right, let's switch over to the other name as far as we have here in Investopedia pulled up. So this is the antitrust hearing, obviously the big four. Let's see if there's some key takeaways down here at the bottom. We'll just pause right there with the four big names. So Amazon basically owns everything, so that's what they're being looked at. And then Apple, 30% cut from developers. A lot of folks have said that's ridiculous, so they may get challenged there. But their defense of that is they don't have any dominant market share in any market. That's kind of true. If I remember right, iPhones are actually third overall in world now, to go in worldwide, that is. Third popular phone overall to Samsung and Huawei, if I'm saying that right. Facebook, again, Facebook was on a buying spree for a couple decades, but now that has sort of chilled up a little bit. And then Alphabet, again, search engine dominance and what they can command for advertising dollars there. So, and they bought Nest, Waze, DoubleClick, so they've got their hands on a lot of things as well. All right, saw a question there on J&J. So let's take a look. 146, they haven't moved. That should be real-time data. So, well, that's interesting. Let's pull that up on. We can go back up to. Sorry, I was looking on a different chart. We'll go back up to TD Ameritrade. It's the right pane there. Scroll out just a little bit so you can see the move up and then back down. So you don't see this a lot. So obviously the news came out. It looks like it was overnight, because when the market opened at 4 a.m., there was a bunch of shot all the way up to 151 and then has chilled out. So I'm starting to think that since this headline got a lot of news, but people aren't buying it, so maybe it was a false headline, or it's kind of nothing more than what was expected. Because when you see a move like that, that's kind of crazy. It went all the way up and back down. So each, I would say no. Probably wouldn't touch this because the market has already voted on it and said nope, not today. If you want to, I don't know if you're on earlier, INO, let's put that in that upper right hand pane. So they were in the news this morning as far as gapping up, 11% or so. So kind of holding that. So that was really the biotech of the day, if you will, for moving up. So, all right, that's all I've got for today. We will check back in tomorrow. We have the last of our four horsemen tomorrow, the CEO from Google. And we also have big earnings out tonight. So don't forget, Big Four releasing earnings after the market closes there. So I think it should be, if we stay in the red today, I think we're set up for a big green move tomorrow. So with that, that's all I've got. We will catch you guys in the morning tomorrow.